What is up, Bleacher Report? Jesse here with Last Second Sports coming at you with another 49ers daily. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend. Start to your weekend, I should say, a fantastic evening. I know that I am. I've mentioned it here before that football's not being played. The draft is around the corner, but my son does play football. And as a proud dad and coach, my son's team won on a Hail Mary final play of the game. I couldn't be happier right now. But this stream is about how the 49ers are going to win next year. And really, this is about what experts think. You know, I've given my mock drafts, and I think next week it'll be my final two streams before the actual draft. So we will do our final mock next Friday. But what is everybody else saying? What is ESPN and CBS and Yahoo and everybody that does this year round? Who are they saying that the 49ers are going to draft? What is there a consensus? Is there anything crazy going on? I gathered 15 big time outlets, and I've got the players that they have going number 11 to the 49ers. Now, obviously, we've talked a majority of this whole draft, every single pick, but it starts with pick 11. And the 49ers have really struggled when it comes to being consistent on hitting on their first round picks. When you really look at it, most of the guys didn't make it to contract number 2. And the two that made it to contract number 2, you have Bosa, you have Ayuk. Well, Ayuk has already been injured. His contract's just now kicking in. And I love Bosa. I think Bosa is a great player, but I also think that a lot of people would say that he's maybe underperforming a little bit when it comes to being the highest paid defensive player up until this offseason when other people finally passed him. But Bosa, again, hell of a player. That was a no-brainer. Ayuk, I think there was a lot of back and forth. Should they not? I was on the side of they should pay him. But I wish they would have done it earlier in the offseason, saved themselves some money. And I also wish that in something you can't predict, I wish that Ayuk didn't get injured. That being said, that means pick number 11, or assuming they stay at 11, wherever they go, their first round pick is so crucial to the future of this team. The whole draft is, but it starts with pick 11. I do want to say something, though. I was talking with some friends right before I went live. I took a second look at Travion Henderson. We all did. I think a lot of people right now would be upset if the 49ers at pick 43 went with a running back. I don't think I would be upset if Travion Henderson was pick 43, if he's able to make it there and the 49ers take him. That's like the one running back right now that could realistically be there that I would be totally fine with. If they took Travion Henderson, zero issues, just watched him and then compared him to Alvin Kamara at Tennessee, they're almost identical. When you talk about a comp, it is about as perfect as it gets. As close to a comp as you can get is Travion Henderson, Alvin Kamara. I think another one is Omari and Hampton and Latavius Murray. I think those guys are pretty identical. But go back, just pull up, you don't have to have film, but go pull up a highlight reel of Travion Henderson. Watch him and then type in Tennessee Alvin Kamara and go watch him and tell me they're not almost identical. Now, what I will say is I think Alvin Kamara has slightly better contact balance, but I think Travion Henderson is slightly more breakaway speed and a slightly better pass blocker. So I don't know what Travion Henderson is going to be in the NFL, but what I do know is this man is absolutely worthy of being pick 43 if he is there. And that's like the one running back that if they went pick 43, I'd be like, not ideal. I didn't expect you to take a running back, but you get a player like that. I'm not saying no to Alvin Kamara a second time. Let's not forget the 49ers traded the original pick to the Saints, who ended up getting Alvin Kamara. If you can get that type of player in a 49er uniform, hell yeah, you've got to say yes to that. So that being said, enough about pick 43, enough about my son's flag football team. Did I mention that we won? Uh, let's talk about what some of the experts are saying. The guys that do this year round. As much as I love the mock, I love diving into prospects. I know that there are people that are just simply better at this. They do this year round. And I'm curious to see, what are they saying? What are the 49ers going to do? There's one consensus player, which is a player that I didn't even know that this was the consensus player until today when I was going through these mocks. But it's the same guy. Spoiler alert, if you listened to yesterday's show, the same guy that I said I think is going to go number 11 to the 49ers. I just have a feeling that this is going to be pick 11, and that is Will Johnson. He seems to be not the consensus, but most experts are mocking him. There are some other names, but there's also some really cool trades that some of these guys came up with. So I'm going to run through these. First of all, ESPN Draft Day Predictor. You got to have this in your tool belt. I think it's a fantastic tool. I almost forgot about it. Last year, I used it a ton. This year, I dang near forgot about it until the last couple of days. But it's really great. It just compiles everything, gives you the odds that a player is going to be available at any pick you could look at. You can pull up individual players, see where their odds of being picked are. It's a really, really cool tool to have in your tool belt as you approach the draft. I know most of you are probably doing mocks and reading about prospects, whatever. Add ESPN Draft Day Predictor to your tool belt. You will not be disappointed. But at over an 18% chance, they have Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan, falling to number 11 and being picked by the 49ers. So that is their prediction. I want to say the second highest pick was like a 12% chance, and it might have been like Ashton Genty, believe it or not, something like that. I don't remember, but Will Johnson is by far and away who they are predicting, just based off of everything, all the data that they have pulled, is going to be the pick. All right, sticking with ESPN, we've got the great Mel Kiper. A lot of people aren't fans of Mel Kiper. I think he's great. I don't know how accurate he is year to year, but I sure do enjoy his analysis. He's a lot of fun. My childhood was filled with Mel Kiper during draft time, and I think that he's a staple of ESPN, much like Chris Berman and some of these other guys. So I love Mel Kiper. He also has Will Johnson, cornerback from Michigan, going to the 49ers. And I'll tell you, Will Johnson, we'll talk a little bit about him because we're going to switch prospects here in a second. Will Johnson is a true outside corner. He can do a little bit of everything, but you want him to play outside. I think that he's basically Charvarius Ward. If you could get a young, inexpensive Charvarius Ward, would you say yes to that at pick 11? Because I would. I think Charvarius Ward is a heck of a player. Tragic what happened to him this last offseason. I'm rooting for him so much as an Indianapolis Colt. But if you could get young Charvarius Ward, inexpensive Charvarius Ward, you say yes to that. And I think that he is basically the same player. That would be my comp for him. And I think he's fantastic. He's got good size, not overly filled with speed, but good enough speed. Just a really good football player. Instinctual, maybe a little over aggressive from time to time. He does play a little aggressive and it can get him into trouble. But for me, if you've got a player that's too aggressive and you've got to get them to dial it back, you can coach that. There's something about not being aggressive enough and trying to get a player to rise and put something into it that is just not naturally there. That is harder, I think. I think you can coach back some aggression. It's hard to coach up aggression. So for me, Will Johnson, I would love to have him at pick 11. Both the ESPN Draft Day Predictor and Mel Kiper have him going there. Last ESPN pick, Fields Yates, who really cut his chops in fantasy football, but has really turned also into an awesome draft analysis. Field Yates has Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss, going number 11 to the 49ers. Again, would not be unhappy about this. Walter Nolan might be the most interesting day one prospect, assuming he goes day one. And the reason I say he's the most interesting is because so early on in this process, everybody seemed to love Walter Nolan. So many people were just okay with him going pick 11. And then as time has worn on, it's just like all of a sudden he's the 26th best prospect. And oh man, I don't know how coachable he is and what's his effort like. I don't know about the coachable thing. Obviously, I'm not, on the field, and neither is anybody else. It does sound like there was some frustration that he has from time to time and will walk off a practice field. Not ideal, not ideal. But it does sound like he's acknowledged that and said that that's an area he knows he needs to be better at. He just loves the sport. He takes it so seriously and he gets frustrated. I don't mind having a guy like that on the team if you have great leadership and great veterans like the 49ers do. That I can take. Now, Mike Green and his issues, I think Mike Green is totally worthy, pick 11, as far as an athlete goes, as far as a football player goes. But those issues, I don't want any part of those because what do you do? I mean, what do you do with that? That has nothing to do with coaching. That's a human being potentially making awful decisions off the field. I don't want to deal with that. As far as a player walking off a field with frustration from time to time, you can coach that. You can work with that, especially when that player says that they acknowledge it and they need to get better. But as far as on the field goes, I don't know that it gets much better than Walter Nolan, especially at his age with his upside. All the athleticism in the world in the SEC, double teamed, play in and play out, absolute menace. Motor doesn't stop, polished, yet still has a high ceiling. Walter Nolan is an awesome prospect. Pick 11, sign me up. I love Walter Nolan, but he is to me the most interesting because, like I said, very early on, a lot of people love Walter Nolan. Now people are saying he might fall to 43 and get picked by the 49ers. Like I don't see that. That's absolutely crazy. But hey, even better. If he falls to 43 and you can get him there, I'll take it. But I also will take him at pick 11. All right. Let's move on to CBS Sports. Ryan Wilson with CBS Sports has arguably my favorite prospect in the whole draft, Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas, going to the 49ers at pick 11. Jahdae Barron's interesting as well. Very early on in this process, you could trade back to 20 to 26-ish and get him all over your mock drafts. I think after he tested, knowing that a guy like Brian Branch exists, and that was the comp all the way through, and how well Brian Branch played last year, and then Jahdae Barron tests way better athletically than Brian Branch, and you're going, okay, so hold on a second. I can get Brian Branch style play with better athleticism. Yeah. We're not taking this guy late in the first round. He could go top 15 all of a sudden. So much for trading back and getting Jahdae Barron. He might be pick 11. And if he was pick 11, again, sign me up. I mean, this is a guy who can play the star role. He's lined up at linebacker some, plays safety, nickel corner. All last year played outside corner, which is probably his worst position on the field, and was still I think he won like best corner in college football, whatever that award is, at outside corner, that's where he's worst at. Okay. Yeah. Jahdae Barron, pick 11. Let's do it. I'm all for it. Let's move on to Josh Edwards, CBS Sports. He also mocks Will Johnson. We've talked about Will, but that is 1, 2, 3 people on Will Johnson at this point. So, like I said, he is seemingly, most people are thinking that that's the way that it's going to go. All right, Underdog Fantasy. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. They've got Kelvin Banks Jr., offensive tackle out of Texas. About a week and a half ago, there was a lot of steam on social media that Kelvin Banks might be the pick. Rumors go crazy this time of year. Somebody thought that he might be the number one offensive tackle on the 49ers board. I think Membu is probably the number one tackle on their board. I could see a situation where they like Banks. I don't know. Banks is good. Don't get me wrong. But I think Banks would be an elite guard in the NFL. I think he would be maybe a ceiling of the 15th to 18th best tackle, left tackle in the NFL. I mean, that's not bad, but at pick 11, I feel like if you're a top 10 pick or right around there, you should probably be able to be a top 10 player at your position in the NFL. Otherwise, you're not living up to expectations and quite possibly a bust if you're just not good at all. And Kelvin Banks, I don't think would be a top 10 left tackle in the NFL. I think he would be a top 10 guard, but taking a guard at number 11, And if you are expecting him to play tackle, maybe if Trent Williams is going to retire before this season, the 49ers know it. I could see them getting desperate and taking a tackle here. As a pure tackle, Kelvin Banks is either the second best tackle or like the seventh best tackle in this draft. Really, truly. I don't know where he lands as far as a tackle. Is it guard? Second best guard, probably. Second best guard in this draft. So I don't know. I guess I wouldn't hate it, but it wouldn't be my favorite pick at 11. I think they can do better. Mock draft HQ has Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise State, going to the 49ers. This is the only mock that I've seen this. I don't think it's likely at all. First of all, I don't think Genty makes it there. Second of all, if he does, I just said Travion Henderson at 43, and I would be good with it. I think a lot of people's blood started to boil when I said that. Now imagine I say at pick 11, the 49ers go running back. Some of you might just turn off your televisions and and like hide for the weekend. You'd be so upset. It's not that Ashton Genty's not a great player. Heck, I'm an Oregon Duck fan. I watch Ashton Genty a lot. Love Ashton Genty. But I think it's debatable on whether he's the best running back prospect in this draft. And at pick 11, boy, you'd be upset at that one. So Ashton Genty, I don't think is going to be the pick. But if it was, I think you might need me here on Bleacher Report to talk you down. I'll tell you that right now. All right. Sports Illustrated, Matt Verderame has the 49ers. This is the next two are very, very interesting. And I like that people are thinking outside the box here. Has the 49ers trading to number 9. It doesn't say what the package is that they give up, but either way, has them trading to number 9 to take Jalon Walker, edge out of Georgia. Hey, something different. It's something different. I absolutely like it. I mean, I think Walker's a fine prospect. I'll take him at 11. Maybe, I guess, if he's your favorite guy, moving up to 9 might be okay. Although I will say, I think the Saints right now are currently at 9. I don't know that they're trading out of that pick because it just came out today that Derek Carr has a hurt shoulder. He might be done for 2025 altogether. There was a good chance they were going to go quarterback at number 9. Now there's a really, really good chance they're going to go quarterback, whether that's Shador or Dart. Either way, I see them going quarterback now. So I don't know that they would be willing to trade to number 11. Obviously, the Bears at number 10 aren't going quarterback, but that doesn't mean that a team can't jump the Saints, move into that 10 position and go quarterback. So if the Saints are there and both those guys are also on the board, unless they have them as dead even prospects, they have to take their guy. They have to take their guy there. Moving to 11 would be way too risky. Unless, like I said, if Dart and Shador are like, hey, either one we're fine with, we've graded them out and they're dead even, not much of a difference here. If we have a chance to move to 11, pick up an extra pick, if somebody moves up to 10, who cares? We're going to get one of them regardless. Okay, that's fine. But outside of that, I don't see it happening. But I love it. I think it's fun. Trades are always great. Next one, 33rd team, Marcus Moshert also has the 49ers trading now. This one would be exciting. all the way up to number 3. And I know what you're thinking, 49er fan. Last time we traded up to 3, Jesse, we got a bust in Trey Lance. Please tell me we're not taking a quarterback. Not to worry. They're not taking a quarterback here. Abdul Carter, potential generational talent, there at number 3. That's what they're trading up for. Now, to go from 11 to 3, again, it doesn't say what they're trading. You're probably giving up 43. You might be giving up 100 or something like that too. I love Abdul Carter, but the 49ers have a lot of work to do. I don't know how I would feel about that. The initial excitement would be great, but then when it comes to pick 43 and then pick 100 and the 49ers are now no longer on the board, that's a lot of capital to give up when you have this many holes. So I don't know that I would be the biggest fan of it. Abdul Carter, heck of a prospect, but it's a lot. That's a lot. So anyways, but it is fun. A lot of fun. All right, Draft Wire. Jeff Reisen has Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan, also an interesting prospect himself in the sense that I think most people had him as a top 3 prospect in this draft for a long time. But he tested, he was at the combine, his arms were shorter than people expected. Then we hear that he walks around much lighter in the offseason than what he plays at. What does that look like? And I think people have cooled off a bit on Mason Graham. I like Mason Graham. I think he's a fine player. I don't know if he's better than Walter Nolan personally. Like, I don't, I'd be totally fine taking Walter Nolan. In fact, if they were both there at 11, I think I would prefer Walter Nolan. I would. Now, Mason Graham, good player again, but I really could see a scenario where he does fall to the 49ers at 11 if teams really are cooling off on him the way the public is. The public perception is they're cooling off. 11's a possibility. Very early on in this process, there was zero chance that was going to happen. And now it seems possible. So we'll see what the actual NFL thinks. I still have a feeling he'll probably end up gone. But if he's there at 11, Mason Graham might be the pick. I think, again, different, interesting. I like it. Okay. Pro Football Network, Reese Decker has Jahdae Barron, cornerback out of Texas, going there. We've talked about him, everything that I love about Jahdae Barron, but that's just another one in the corner for Jahdae Barron. Yahoo Sports. This was a consensus at Yahoo Sports, so not an individual writer. Another different name, Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. I think a lot like Mason Graham. The public is cooling off on him, very, very high on him early. And I look at him like I do Banks. I think he's a heck of a left guard or a heck of a guard, period. I don't know about an offensive tackle. I don't know that he'll ever be a top 10 offensive tackle, left tackle in this league. And so for me, very good guard, serviceable, a little above serviceable as an offensive tackle. I'm good. I'm cool at number 11 with that. So even if he falls there, I think a lot of people would be like, how do you pass on Will Campbell or prospect before Mason Grant? How do you, I mean, early on in this process, these guys were top 5 guys. How do you pass on them? I don't know. I'm totally fine passing on them. I think there are better options, but I do. Again, I like different names. I like people not going with the obvious. Will Campbell, trades, Mason Graham, different names. It's a lot of fun. We'll see. And I think all of them are legit possibilities. I do. Anything is possible. I really believe that at 11. Football guys, Alfredo Brown. Also, Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron, man, he's starting to close the gap on Will Johnson as far as being picked here. And again, I love Jahdae Barron, so I'm fine with it. NFL.com's Rhett Lewis, another different name, has Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, Ohio State. Okay. Josh Simmons, awesome player. Awesome, awesome player. But Josh Simmons, if I'm not mistaken, has a heck of an injury that he's dealing with. A heck of an injury. So you're talking about an injury that has ruined potentially 2 49er careers. since Kyle Shanahan has been here. I just don't see that being the pick. They had Drake Jackson recently went through it. They're saying he's having a heck of a time recovering. I don't know that he'll ever play again. And then they had Weston Richburg, who was their big time center signing. He went through it and he just never recovered and ended up having to retire. Now, Josh Simmons is young. I hope that he can recover. If he can come back and even be 90% of what he was, he might be the best left tackle in this draft. Okay. If he was healthy, he wouldn't make it to 11. He would be a top 5 pick. Membu would be the other one most likely. And then it would be almost a guarantee that guys like Will Campbell would make it to the 49ers. Josh Simmons is that good. That injury, though, man, you better be absolutely positive. Now, what's scary about a guy like Josh Simmons is I look at a team like the Chiefs who could use a tackle. I could see them at 31 getting a player like Josh Simmons because he's injured. They're fine with his medicals, and he ends up being an absolute stud, top 10 left tackle for the next 10 to 12 years. And they got a steal in the draft because of his injury, and everybody else was scared. I could see that scenario. I'm just not willing to take that chance at number 11. I just think it's too much of a risk. So for me, I hope this isn't the pick, but somebody's going to get a really good prospect. And if he's healthy, just know he'll be an amazing player in this league. It's just, can he stay healthy? And then finally, our old friend Todd McShay, no longer on ESPN, but is with, I think he's with Bill Simmons now. Shout out to Todd McShay. He breaks the tie here, rounding us out, also saying Will Johnson will be the pick at number 11 for the 49ers. And it's interesting. It's interesting that this is coming up, and that as I was doing this homework today, that he was the player that was most picked, because it just hit me yesterday. I said it on yesterday's show, but all of a sudden it just hit me. Will Johnson's going to be the pick. I've got a feeling that he's going to fall. He does have a chance to go top 10. He really does. But if he's there, I think that it's going to be him. And knowing that the 49ers have that much that they have to fix in the trenches, both offensive and defensive side, I think it's going to be a bit of a gut punch for some people. It's okay. Will Johnson's a really good football player, and I think that he'll live up to it if he is the pick. So that's what the experts are saying. As much as I would like to say I'm an expert, I'm not. I love the 49ers. I love doing these mocks. I feel really good about my eye as far as picking out some of this talent, but there are people that just simply do this year round, and we would be foolish to not listen to what their thoughts are. Who will be the pick? Who's your guess? I would love to see in the comment section. Who are you saying is going to be the 49er pick? If you had to just one person, who's it going to be? Everything on the line. Throw your name in the hat. Is it Jahdae Barron? Is it Walter Nolan? Is it Banks? Is it Simmons? Who is it Membu? Does Membu fall? Or do you think it's Will Johnson like most of the experts do? Or is there somebody completely different we're not talking about? Because there's a lot of possibilities here. A lot of possibilities. I'm curious to see what your thoughts are. But we are just under 2 weeks away. I cannot wait for the draft. I hope you have a blessed weekend, and I will be back next week. Bleacher Report next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you stay tapped in. For now, though, this is Jesse with Last Second Sports signing out. Stay blessed. Talk to you soon. Peace.